Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very interesting Season 20 here at WOR, and welcome to PC Tier 2. Now, there's a lot to discuss and not much time to do it, but as always, it's great to be back. It's great to be in the commentary box once more. I am joined by the one and only, the lovely, the Corey Brooks. How you doing, my friend? You're looking very red and very warm in that lighting setup you got there.
Oh yes, very excited to get going here for what is a complete mystery season. Even to us commentators in the booth, we don't know the track until the very last minute. So we get going into Season 20 before we await the next game cycle to come. I'm excited to see what's to come here. Again, all a mystery, all up in the air, anything could happen. But very excited to get going for round one. It is time to get cooking for Season 20.
Yep, and as Corey has said, this season is a complete wild card. There's no two ways about it. We have 10 rounds and we have a complete mystery as to what rounds we are doing week to week. Zero idea, and it is going to be absolutely amazing. I think in terms of just drama and spectacle, if nothing else, we have no real way to look forward to what's happening. We have the drivers who are going to be jumping in with very little prep, and this is really going to shake up things. Now, there's no denying that this is more of an interim season between now and F1 25, and of course with F1 esports going on as we speak, this is going to be a situation where we have an opportunity to try something a little bit different, to have a little bit more fun, experiment with the format. And as you can see here, we have got a set of 16 tracks to choose from to fit into 10 rounds, and we are headed tonight to none other than, we got the confirmation, it's going to be Monaco to start things off. One of the most interesting events to start the calendar off. And as we got direct feedback, the races were chosen completely at random. And the internal admins, the admins here at WOR, were apparently peeing themselves laughing when they saw that round one. But Monaco, that is certainly an opener.
Oh, absolutely. What a way to get going here for round one, Season 20. We're going straight into the harsh environment, the very all-known, very treacherous Monte Carlo Grand Prix. I'm excited to see it, I've got to say.
Yeah, well, it's a Marmite course, that is for sure. I was just looking at the Tier 2 chat, and as soon as everyone saw that it was Monaco, everyone collectively lost their minds. They were not happy bunnies, but safe to say it's going to be amazing nonetheless. Now, a quick look at the grids for Tier 2. We will take a quick time to look at that, but we won't spend too much on it. We'll go through the full run-through between quali and the race, as well as any predictions. But you can see, cursory glance, we have 10 teams, 20 drivers, and a brilliant roster of talent hand-picked by the WOR team, because you may notice, as we have not got many streams scheduled on the front side, or if you're in our Discord server, which you should be in, by the way, we only have console tier 1 and PC tier 2 this season, which I think is an interesting development.
Yeah, not running the full tiers this season, just to bring a little bit of spice before, like you say, this interim season, this little bit of in-between game cycles. So we're only running console tier 1 and PC tier 2. Of course, all being all mystery tracks on both tiers could introduce a little bit of a spicy Season 20. I'm excited to see the console side as well, to see how they fare. The tracks also being a mystery. They may be in a random order, not so much the same as what you see here.
Yeah, they might have a completely different calendar as well to us here on the PC side of running, so that will be pretty exciting to watch and see. But right now we have our first couple of cars now starting in Midnight Monaco as things now get underway. Diego Zorzo going to be the first out, the first one to be pushing, as you have a few more racers who are tailing off behind. Let's stick on board with Zorzo for the minute here. Turn 4 Casino. Remember, dip into the inside a little bit. You got to be careful of that kink on the left side. Now, down the hill into easily the slowest corner in the F1 calendar by a wide margin. Casino Portier coming up to on the waterfront. Then all hammer down into the tunnel, and you can see the lights illuminating the whole way as you make your way quickly down to the Nouvelle chicane. A little bit of a clip over, and Zozo, unfortunately, with the invalidation, that is going to leave them out to dry, which is going to pass the baton over to Riyad Sprogis, making their way through into Tabac. Louis Chiron in the final sector of the course. Skip across those curves, take as much speed as you can, fire it into the back end of the circuit. Little bit of a slide there from the Red Bull, but nicely done out of turn 19, and initial time on the board is a 108 flat. Leotone is going to immediately go faster, though, by a significant margin, too. Absolute weapon of an Aston Martin. He eclipses, particularly the Sector 2 time.
Yannick Leotard looking very, very strong in Monaco. Very quick time. Rens Thomason coming in also to take P2 away from Rihard Sprogis. But it's still an 8/10 gap away from Keanu Leotard. That is a show of dominance on a bank lap if I've ever seen one.
Yep, certainly knows how to put on a show. Jumping aboard with JST, another car making their way round. Can they make any headway here? Up to the line, it's P5, 108.1. Few more cars now making their way through. That's Justin Out is into 7th position with a 108.5. You have a couple of cars who have unfortunately disconnected. Lito's so confident in their run that they've actually retired from the session, which I gotta say, brave move at this stage of the game. It's so early that really, that is, I'd argue, a little bit of a gamble. Zorzo with another invalidation, and Van Ruyter now starting a lap up now. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting to see Leotard retire, but with
apparently
that
he crashed.
gap,
Apparently he crashed. My mistake.
oh, never mind. He's out. He DNF'd. He's crashed. He's donezo. Absolutely out of it. So if he wanted to improve, he's not going to. Gabor jumps up to P2. Separates us. Aston Martin. Jean Halliday just a 10th away. Maybe he can improve on his later laps as the track evolution is still to come. 13 minutes of this qualifying in Monaco to go. I'm currently on board with Danny Van Ruyten as I'm watching him come through down into the chicane. Down flat to the floor all the way to Tabac. Very cautious, so you don't want to get yourself collected in that outside wall, but he keeps himself nicely squared away. Burned all of the battery, but now trying to preserve what's left for that final run as he comes now into Raskas.
Yep, nice
Looking
swing.
very confident, throwing it in though.
Van Ruyter now up to line, and it's a 108 flat. It's going to be P5, and that RB is going to be slotting themselves so far into row 3. Now, there's a couple of question marks surrounding the grid, namely how a lot of the drivers at this stage have yet to put a time on the boards. I think we also have a couple of issues with drivers being in the wrong cars. I do believe, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, if any of the drivers or reserves are in the chat right now. I do believe that we have Zorzo in the wrong car. I think he should be swapped with Halliday. But either way, Caden Luke up to the line, P7, 108.1, 2 milliseconds ahead of JST, and a couple of cars who are just finishing or starting their runs now. Exobox, interestingly, going on the Inters with a 112. Maybe a questionable move considering it's midnight here in Monaco, but what do I know?
No rain falling on that track. Could be a questionable decision from the Haas team giving him the wrong tyre compound, maybe. Not entirely sure. But yeah, maybe wanted to see what he could do on intermediate conditions. Have a bit of fun as we are in Monaco under the lights. But I'm currently aboard with Leo Lund. He's going flat to the floor, about to cross the line. Can he go anywhere? He goes up into P2. Ooh, just rivaling away though with Gabor, but not enough to chase down Leotard.
Yeah, my timing board had a bit of a fritz. I was about to jump to him, but it didn't let me. In the end, we're on board, though, with Hitala, who unfortunately just invalidated after a really strong Sector 1. Let's see if some of the others who have yet to set a time can make improvements too. Marquardt bumping in the wall of Tabac quite hard, but still keeping it together. A little bit of a wayward rear axle, and whoa, very much on display right there. Marquardt really is pushing that car to the ragged edge of grip right now, but keeps it together nonetheless. 108.8, so not a time to be writing home about, but it's still a time on the boards, which at this stage of the game, that's really all he needs.
Seeing some debris on the track in turn 1, so maybe some drivers that didn't get that bank of time on the board getting a bit too friendly with the barriers. See a little bit of carbon fibre littering on the exit of turn 1, but so far only 4 drivers yet to set a time. Everybody does have that bank a lap, and then Fox with that intermediate time. Maybe the soft tyres to come out in the final closing minutes for the ABS team driver.
Could be an elaborate play to just put more rubber down on the course. You never know how they could be playing it. That's Thomason into a stage of retirement as well.
Whoa! Daniel got slack as well.
Have we had an issue? We've had the Nouvelle chicane. I'm trying to locate another driver who's nearby. It looks like Nouvelle chicane has claimed a victim.
Yeah, I just saw the end of Daniel Gottschalk. His qualifying is done and dusted. Nouvelle chicane has claimed his the first victim of the evening. I'd be surprised if we don't see anybody else just clip that front left on entry. Rapassa, new pole position time.
Very nicely done.
Oh, fine margins, 0.003 of a second.
Yeah, really close to call here. I mean, it does show how everyone is really just pushing it as much as they can, right on the ragged edge of grip. Top 8 coming up, 108.2. So that's going to be only good enough for 15th. Let's see if Liam Stevens can push something, but as invalidated as well. So a couple of other cars will be out on track looking to set some times for themselves. Zorzo now heading in to the pit. Halliday out on P4. They're starting to close in as well with Litode's time. Remember, that looked like such a strong and insurmountable goal. 0.169 before Litode's unfortunate crash out. And it looks like that crash out has come back to bite. Gabor Santos is going to be coming through the tunnel as well. They will be hopefully smiled upon, and there you go, no drama through the chicane. Let's see if they keep it clean towards the end and the final sector.
Now they hold that Gabor can keep themselves going and improve on that time, get a little bit higher in the field. Only a 10th will get you up just behind the front 4 drivers and potentially in a good position to challenge on for some overtakes using that one and only DRS straight that you will get. Does improve to P5, so it was coming, but it wasn't enough to jump ahead of Jean Halliday there. But Halliday sat in the pits waiting patiently for the next time to come out. I don't know, do they have the tyres to go again? Will they have saved the compound a little bit for them to get some more runs in? It's quite a fast lap here in Monaco, and the outlap as well being fairly quick once you get onto that tarmac. But I don't know, would you wait for the final runs now, let everybody else rubber that track in?
I don't know. I would give it a little bit more rubber myself, but I wouldn't be playing it too hard. We have seen Liam Stevens, another victim claimed by the Nouvelle chicane, meaning that 4 drivers now are retired out of qualifying, and we're not even in the final 5 minutes. Stevens not having set a time means that all Hitala needs to do is put something on the board, and he will automatically push Stevens down to last place.
Just having a little nausea. Hatala, he comes into the Nouvelle chicane, not a victim of it.
And there's 2! That's Sprogis and Hitala, both crashing out majorly on the chicane. Jeez, that is seriously unfortunate there, both of them. And you can see yellows.
To Hatala, but he came through the chicane cleanly. That was so confusing.
Either way, they are out of quali. No matter which way you slice it, these 2 are done. And that's going to be an absolute heartbreaker for the start of their season. Lund is out there. Leroy Brown is out there. Exapox, Marquardt, Bieda, they are following suit too. Let's jump on board with Marquardt. Unfortunately, they have got an invalidation, so maybe we won't do that. But we will keep an eye on some of the other races. So back to Lund. Let's see if he can set something up. He is currently maxed on the battery, so maybe a fuel burn here.
It could be burning it all away, waiting for the opportune moment to get that lap in, burning away the kilos to make that car a little bit lighter, a little bit faster. So, it could be the strategy to play for. Not deploying the batteries as of yet, but he does have that invalidation waiting behind him.
There you go, setting himself up. This is going to be the run, and this is where it's going to make it happen. So coming up to the start-finish line now, and full battery, tyres at optimal temps. It's go time here for the Ferrari of Leo Lund. Let's see what he can do. Many other cars are now heading into or out of the pits. And the racers are now considering setting up for their final runs. So let's see what he's capable of here. Whoa, big slide. I mean, points for style, but not necessarily for speed there. That is certainly going to be harming their Sector 2 time. That is not going to be helpful whatsoever. Halliday has just gone fastest, a 0.118. Is there going to be such luck afforded to anyone else on the course? Barely avoiding the wall of the chicane. Lund comes through. Bit of a tap on the wall. Still 0.3 of a second down. This could be magical. Rapassa, 6.7. Immense time here put down by the RB. Can the Ferrari match? Final sector. Push it all the way through. Out of turn 19. Fire it down the start-finish straight. Is there going to be some magic in the tank? It's close, but no, not quite. Lund with a 6.956. It's going to be good enough to hold on to that P2, but not quite enough to displace the pole sitter. We're jumping around the field. We're checking how they're all doing. Let's jump on board with the Alpine of Santos.
So Gabor now coming through. Novel chicane invalidates it. Cut it a little bit too early. We'll now have to recharge the battery. Hopefully has the fuel to go again, but was currently up on the Delta. It was up by quite a lot.
Let's look at JST here for a second. Coming up to the line. Had a good run as well. Tope was out of the way, so they did not commit to a run. And that is going to be the McLaren up into row 3. Nicely done there. Kalen Luke with an invalidation. Justin Ertz, much of the same. So, going to be waiting at least another lap to go around again. It is going to be their final pushes, really. They're not going to have quite the same opportunity. And now it is time for those final runs to come to fruition. You can see everyone jumping back into the pits, send themselves up, and then we will have our races good and proper.
2 minutes, just under 3 minutes of qualifying to go. Plenty of time for the drivers to get themselves ready into the tarmac, set themselves up for that final run, wait for that final second, and let the track evolution come at its best to give you the best grip, the best optimum chances at that pole position. You know what they say, pole in Monaco, normally it wins the race, but you've got 39 laps of racing around this track to go.
See, Exabox we jump on board with immediately, tapping the wall throughout the first corner, and then upwards into the higher section of the course a little bit. That is end plate damage. You're right, it's a bit too much. And already 0.7 of a second down. This is not going to be the run that they take home. Back to Marquardt, meanwhile, a little bit of a slide. Again, very tail happy. They seem to be in that McLaren, and then they slow right down. That is going to be an abandon from them. They are going to opt for a second go at the final flag, or the final flying of the flag, I should say, which leaves us with Zorzo, who seems to be keeping it on the straight and narrow thus far.
Yeah, Zorzo looking to improve on that time as he comes down to Novel chicane, gets nice and close, but not close to hit, and then again close on the exit. That outside wall that has cost Hatala his qualifying, but he comes through to back now, nice and bonnet. Flat to the floor and not taking too much curb, just scraping those outer walls before he comes into Raskas. And this is where it matters. You need to get the rotation right. Flat to the floor, open that rear wing, deploy all the battery that you have left and cross the line. Just lines up on the first of the second row with a 1:07, almost flat, just 1,000th away. Oh, it would have been so satisfying to see that flat time from Zorzo, but for now, that may be his qualifying done and dusted.
Yeah, shame really. You say 1 millisecond away from that glorious 107, and 2, away from the 106s, which would put them in the same league. Even if it's only semantics, it would put them in that same league as Rapasa and Lund. Again, big tail kick coming around the hairpin hotel, and that is going to be a pretty common strategy, it seems like, although a little bit too much slide, and you can't quite get the power down to get out of that corner. Up to the infamous chicane here. Marquardt playing it a little bit safer, you can see on the approach, but holds it together quite nicely. To back, then into sector 3. 3/10 up. This could net them a couple of key points, a couple of key positions. They just have to bring it all together in sector 3. This is do or die time as the checker flag has officially fallen. So Rapasa out of the session. They're content with the 0.7. That is going to be an 8.335 for Marquardt, meaning that they will get a 17th. Leroy Brown, no improvement. A couple of other cars still pushing around all the same.
And the wall on the exit of the final turn.
As Van Ruyten, no. You can see right there, just catching it briefly in the rear view. There's the two Williams coming through in quick succession. Caden and Toppe in 15th and 9th respectively. Unfortunate for Van Ruyten. That is going to be a very abrupt end to their session. But Lund coming up to the line now. Will they see an improvement of their own? Let's make their way 10th and a half down and a 10th down by the time they come to cross the line. Now, Halliday is going to be... oh no, he has completely dropped it out of the final corner. Shame to see. Justin Ertz is going to be making no improvement. Unfortunate, as JST has got an invalidation. There's wing damage there from Zalan Bieda, and that is quali, ladies and gentlemen. So Rapasa having retired out, but Lund is in second, and who we're going to jump to the camera for, that is qualifying, and that was pretty intense.
That was interesting. That was not quite what you expected. A couple of drivers getting themselves hit in the wall and out of qualifying early on for the likes of Keanu Leotard. Early on qualifying, only one lap on the board, but good enough to stay close to the top. Only good enough for P5, though, after ultimately Luca Rapasa getting that 106. Leo Lund, 106 also. Nobody else getting quite into that level, that league. It looked nice, but Zozo being the fastest in the 107s. It's interesting to see the drivers struggling with the track limits. You know, like you say, kicking the tail end out to get around those hairpin. Oh, struggling to get my words out there. Kicking the tail out to get around the hairpin to try and control it and get the power down. It seems to be the faster time as we get going into Monaco. But for now, we have our little lobby restart. Get the collisions turned back on. We can get going for 39 laps of what we hope we shall not see carnage of, like we did see in qualifying.
Oh, I mean, carnage is a bit of an understatement, to be quite honest with you. We had so many drivers who retired out. I think in the end, it was 8, because I think Rapasa retired voluntarily. So 8 drivers out of 20 crashing out during quali. That is just unprecedented. That is just not something you see. I mean, the mystery, the wildcard season format has certainly gathered its fair share of drama already, and we haven't even got into the first race yet. But we are going to take that short break, as Corey said, to get the lobby restarted. So while we do that, we have a chance to hear from a couple of the people who make what we do at WOR possible, and we'll be right back with you. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So we briefly showed this before we got into qualifying, but now let's take some time while we get the lobby restarted to talk about it in full. This is your set of drivers. This is your full lineup for the new season. And we did have a few reserves who stepped in tonight. So we had quite a few unfortunate absences, and that, with all in mind, is going to bring us still quite a very strong grid for Season 20. So, taking it from the top, in the Red Bulls, it's Liam Stevens and Riyad Sprogis. The Mercedes are going to be piloted by Tudor Presican, who unfortunately could not make it tonight. So that will have a replacement, and that would have seen, I believe, that was where Jan Halliday would have been alongside Leroy Brown. You have Leo Lund and Zalan Bieda taking the Ferraris, with JST and Joel Marquardt piloting the McLarens. The Aston Martins are going to be Keanu Liotard and Diego Zorzo. And then following that, you have the Alpines of Rens Thomassen and Gabor Zontos. Following on from that, you have the Williams of Caden Le and Tope. The Racing Bulls, or the RB team, are going to be Danny Van Ruyten and Luca Rapassa, with the Kick Saubers being piloted by Justin Ertz and Daniel Gottschalk. And finally, in the Haas team, it's Larry Tulkey and Exapox, although for tonight, Tulkey has been replaced by reserve Tony Hitala. So, pretty stacked grid. Pretty stacked, I have to say. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this season conjures up.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you. Some very fast names in the grid here coming into this wild card of Season 20 PC Tier 2. Not what you expect with these mystery tracks coming at you from out of nowhere, the drivers being caught off guard. Maybe that is what has also contributed to the dramatic display of carnage in qualifying. 8 drivers DNFing from that, getting themselves collected in the wall one way or another. Carbon fibre flying around the track all over the tarmac, and drivers spinning and invalidating their laps. Nobody able to practice because nobody knows what the next track is to be. So it's interesting to see how these talented drivers are going to fare in these unpredictable conditions, these unpredictable races where you don't even have the time to get that track acclimation in beforehand like you'd normally expect in the previous season's run.
Yeah, well, just a reminder, folks, of course, as we go to our calendar card and we can just get a refresher of the absolute wildcard season that this is, the drivers know at the turn of the hour. So they are already in lobby, and then whoever is lobby host gets informed, same time as everyone else, of the race and of the conditions. So, as you said, you don't get the time to acclimate to the track. You don't get that sort of extra practice, those extra sessions that drivers are so used to having. And that goes a long way to really impacting their consistency, impacting their ability to push. As we saw in quali, there would no doubt have been drivers who, even with just a few laps of practice to just reacquaint themselves with Monaco, and I think we would have seen the retirements cut in a quarter. But it's just the way that it goes, and especially with Monaco being such a high-risk track in quali, that is what we saw happening right before our eyes. The drivers just still trying to give it their all, but not having that extra prep time, and it does have quite an effect. And this is how it's going to be for the whole season. So, of course, every week you can expect an absolutely chaotic, in a good way, a chaotic race filled with action, filled with drama, and with the championship going left, right, and centre. Now, this is a good time as well to mention the other very radical change we've had for this season. I think, Corey, I think you showed particular interest in this one in the comms chat. So why don't you talk us through the new tyre rules?
Oh, yes. So, interesting. This is going to be spicy. Hard tyres are no longer something you can use. Banned from Season 20. No more long stints. No more seeing how long you can push those hard tyres and how hard you can push them. It's certainly going to open the door for maybe two-stop races. It's going to be very interesting. It must be soft and medium compound tyres ran in the Grand Prix, and of course intermediate and full wets. If the weather shall grace you with full wet conditions, where the drivers slap them on and give us some mighty fine sliding action as it's driving on skates in the wet. We'd love to see that, the display of action that they can do. But again, you cannot use high compound tyres anymore. This is where things get interesting. How long can you push the mediums?
Yeah, the wildcard doesn't just stop at the calendar. No hard tyres whatsoever. If you are caught using a hard tyre, you get a 5-second penalty for every lap after failing to pit immediately. So if you accidentally go out onto the hards and then you pit back in for a fresh set of mediums or softs, fair game. You're fine. Don't panic. But any lap after that point, you, on top of the time lost from hards, you get 5 seconds added on per lap. And that, of course, is still a penalty, which still means penalty points, and that stacks up fast. So you can see they will have to be very wary of their tyre choices. And also, punctuality is a big push for this season, with failure to turn up at the lobbies on time, or not registering and then not showing. That will be subject to penalties or even quali bans in some cases.
Yes, big rule changes coming to try and make this a little bit more interesting in terms of the tyres, but also to encourage the drivers to get here on time. The race is going without any delays, and then the chat can get straight into the action and the carnage for this wild card season. As we do get ourselves ready to rock and roll, the drivers are set, the grid has been set, and we're getting ourselves ready to go back trackside. I'm excited. 39 laps, but not a lot of action you normally see in Monaco. We can only hope that the Tier 2 boys can bring us a lot of action and make this one an entertaining one without getting themselves collected in the wall.
Yep. Well, it's worth mentioning as well that it is not mandatory to do a 2-stop. If you can make a 1-stop work on soft and medium, then you can do it. It's certainly not optimal with these conditions in mind, but it can be done, and you can technically still do 1-stop races. But these options will encourage a lot more strategy. They will encourage a lot more versatility in the drivers, a lot more adaptability, with them being able to quickly change their strategies depending on the conditions. And especially if safety cars are going to be a factor, this is going to be pretty important. But this is also, folks, where we pass it off to you. So if you're in that chat right now, you've seen the qualifying, let us know what you're looking forward most to this season. Who you're looking forward most to this season, who you're looking forward to in qualifying. Any and all thoughts, throw them in that chat. We'd love to hear from you. And with that, it looks like we are getting ourselves rigged and ready for the race to get started. Drivers are setting their cars, getting their setups primed. And within just moments, we will be going racing for the first time in Season 20.
Oh, and of course, round one, what a way to start it. Monaco. This can either go extremely well or extremely bad, depending on this lap 1 calamity, this lap 1 carnage. We've seen it happen before. We've also seen drivers get away very, very cleanly on the opening laps. Lap 1 incidents in Monaco are expected, but the lights are lit. It's 4-5 lights and the grid is hot. Who is ready to go racing here in Monaco? Because we certainly are, as Luca Rapassa gets away cleanly. So does Leo Lund, as well as Diego Zorzo, all lining up behind. But here comes John Halliday looking to fight back against Keanu Leotard. You can see he's rocking his Mercedes colour this time around. Makes it side by side all the way up to turn 3, and still side by side coming out of Casino. Who's going to be the upper hand here between the Aston Martin and the Mercedes pair? Oh, he's opened the door for Van Rooten to try and get on through. Halliday now in a bit of a situation, side by side at the hairpin with Van Rooten, but he's going to push on through. Look at all the cars, the train, the chaos going into that hairpin, but everybody's coming through cleanly. Positions are being swapped left, right, and centre. Hatala making moves to 13th as well after that dramatic scrap we saw between P3 and P4, and even P5 getting in the mix.
Yeah, well, it's chaotic, and I think chaotic is an understatement in all honesty, given how everyone was juggling for position in that first lap. It's seriously impressive to watch everyone just go at it, duke it out, And impressive to see everyone embrace the new tyre rules, because most of the grid is on softs. Hitala, after not even a lap, is already in for his new set, and for likely repairing from damage following some of that earlier chaos. 4 cars, in fact, 2 are following through and doing just that right now. But softs and mediums are the name of the game, remember, and Halliday is going to be one of those risk takers who chances it early on the medium in a sea of soft tyres. How long can he hang on to that position? Time will only tell, but Litone hangs on to the P4 following their earlier squabble. Van Vroyten got through as well, and Halliday is going to have to put on a bit of defense to prevent any further season drops.
I'm just taking a quick look at the gaps there. You see things start to open up, and you see drivers falling behind a little bit before. We had that wave of pit stops and drivers swapping those tyres, not happy early on. Maybe even damage, as we saw the lap 1 chaos, everybody getting very close together. Maybe some wings getting a bit too friendly with diffusers. We're pushing on through. I've got my eyes on Halliday. Is he maybe the driver under a lot of attack here from JST? Top here also lurking behind this train. But for now, here goes JST looking for it around the outside of turn 1. Can he make it? He still gets it side by side on the exit. He's trying to push on through again, Sean Halliday, and does get on through as we come up for Ravage.
Yeah, and Halliday's not out of the woods yet either. Tope is right there, and he's waiting to capitalize on the mistake. You can see the Williams is chancing it a little bit throughout the first sector. Didn't quite have any luck, unfortunately, but they still are going to keep it very tight to the diffuser of the W15 and see what they can get away with while they still have the tire advantage. Remember, those softs aren't going to last forever. They will have that drop-off point, and while we've still got a couple of laps left in them at the very least, they're going to hit that drop-off point fairly quickly, and it's from there that drivers need to decide how they're going to play it. New set of softs, set of mediums. They've got to play their hand with great precision and care.
Oh, you've got to agree on that. Do they go for the 2-stop? Can they push and use the tyre to the advantage to gain the time lost doing a 2-stop race? Or is the 1-stop on the even on the cards with the way that the soft tyres are going to degrade through this Monaco Grand Prix? It's all up in the air. The strategies are unknown. Oh, Sean Halliday almost leaving an open door for Tope to sneak on through as we came up to Massenet, but it's just not done yet. He's certainly under a lot of pressure here. Those medium tyres just haven't fired up for him. The Mercedes struggling. The Williams right on the rear diffuser there as we come around the hairpin.
Well, he's got the temps, but he hasn't just hasn't got the raw grip, and that's the differentiator here. Those softs are the best that they're going to be. They're the most alive that they can be. And I'm noticing as well, some of the drivers who are choosing to go back onto some of their quali sets as well. Not everyone who went in for that first pit stop, those 4 drivers, not everyone came out on fully fresh tyres. So we see them cycling a couple of sets from earlier sessions in the Grand Prix weekend. One will have to sort of question what the strategy is again, what's their game here. But what we do know is that the mid-pack has potentially a couple of battles teeing up. Leroy Brown, for example, on the back of Tope, putting some very good pace down, but burning a lot of battery in the process. You can see that light flashing, and that could be a window for Zontas to get involved too.
Do have Tony Atala on some fresh medium compound tyres, so maybe 5 laps in, 4 laps in, maybe that's the strategy, to swap onto those medium tyres to make them extend a little bit longer and then swap to softs once more at the end. You'll have a fresh set. But do you have the fresh set? Do you have the tyres to go again?
Yeah, well, if you're running with those kind of numbers, you're not going to make it to the end on just a 2-stopper. You're going to have to stretch all those compounds a lot more than you would think or you'd usually see in these conditions. Again, drivers having to get a lot more strategic and a lot more versatile with their compound choices. And this is going to manifest in some, we'll call it interesting ways. We can only pray and tell what the drivers are going to do in response to these condition changes, but with the hard tyre out of commission, this removes the safety net, because a lot of driver strats would have been go for the hard tyre, and then the actual tyre I want to be on, it can either be the soft or the medium.
Oh, we had a bit of a scrap between Exafox and Zalan Bieda. Zalan looking for it around the outside. Oh, Exafox sliding there. Really sliding. He's struggling with those soft compounded tyres. Are they overheating? Are they burning away? What's happening there? Zalan all over the rear tail of that Haas.
Yeah, well, one thing we do know is their internal rear's temperature is going to be through the roof, because you slide in, you are losing even more time, and that is going to be very detrimental. But you can see that one of the kick salvers is dropping behind in a significant way. I think that's Gottschalk, but you look, he's missing a significant chunk of his front wing, and that is not going to be playing well into any kind of cornering speed. So they're going to be expected to drop even further here. But Exafox is now into the pits. Bieda is going to remain out and is going to be taking that P13. But Halliday is not content with just idly sitting by and letting the soft runners make a mockery of him. No, he's going to be pushing forward. And right now, he's got that P6 and he's holding.
Oh, brave moves from Jean Halliday, but you see the mediums now starting to come into play. The softs just not having that optimum grip like they used to. He may be able to use that to his advantage now and break away at that 1.4 second gap from Van Ruyten. From Van Ruyten, however you say it. I'm still learning the names a little bit. I've been here long enough, I should know these people's names properly.
Well, I'm sure Van Ruyten will be very happy that you're trying. But Halliday has got a free card from him, as Ruyten's got 3 seconds for track limits. So that is going to be a freebie, and Halliday is going to inherit a free position, along with most likely a couple of drivers behind. So JST top A, maybe Leroy Brown as well. They are going to be taking a few free positions away from Van Ruyten. They'll be dropped down to about 8th position, and the rest of the field is going to benefit handsomely from that. But looking back on field, Bieda's are still on their starting softs, but Leo Lund's just come out and they are on fresh mediums. So will we see a bit of inter-team play with the Ferraris, or are we going to see very much every driver for themselves?
Well, early days, it's round 1. Are they competing for who's going to be the #1 driver?
No mercy! No mercy right away!
Oh, team versus team. Look at the scrap here as we get through. But of course, with that tyre advantage, Leo Lund makes it easy pickings. But not without its fair share of teammate squabbles.
Yeah, really not leaving anything to the imagination there. I guess there's no love lost in a Drivers' Championship. And that's what these drivers are ultimately focused on. We'll see a couple more heading into the pits now. That's JST, that's Jan Halliday, hot to the tail of Van Ruyten. Even if they have the position on penalty, they want the position on track. And oh, that's a collision it looks like. And Van Ruyten is out. The camera angle just changed before we could get a good shot of exactly what happened. But Halliday is missing a front quarter, and Van Ruyten is missing a front left wheel. So the safety car is going to be coming out in full, and this is going to change the dynamic of the race massively.
Oh, unfortunate for Van Ruyten. He's absolutely sent flying into the wall. Big collision, bringing out the safety car, throwing everybody's strategies up in the air once again. Our driver's going to box. We see some drivers still out there on the soft compound tyres. This will be the time for them to swap them out and get moving through.
Yeah, I think this is optimal. This is absolutely optimal for everyone who's still on those early softs, because now they can effectively jump onto either a set of softs or a set of mediums, and they can also save a couple of laps worth of tyre wear, because the safety car is going to be at that reduced speed. They will have enough speed to be able to keep those in temp, but they are still going to be much gentler on those tyres compared to full core running. So they'll be able to extract maybe an extra lap, maybe 2 of tyre distance out of those rubbers, but You can see everyone is jumping on pretty much wholesale onto mediums. The only exception looks to be Halliday. It looks like just Halliday. Everyone else is going onto a fresh set of mediums and largely thinking the same thing, that they're going to jump and get a free couple of laps and then extend those as far as they can to the end before maybe a second set of softs to finish.
Right, a little disconnect. I just got myself back into the lobby so I can see everything once again. But though we see everybody who was on the soft compound tyre swap off them onto the mediums. Optimal, absolutely optimal, as you said, Sappy. It's what they wanted. They needed that safety car to come out. Perfect timing. Swap the tyres out, not lose out too many positions. And they just fall behind a Leroy Brown who's out on 9-lap-old mediums. So, I don't know, a bit of a questionable strategy there. Maybe not wanting to do the double stack and lose out any more positions, but he's caught that safety car.
Yep, certainly managed to flip the strategy round. The safety car being, of course, the wild card in this operation. And this is going to mean a few different things. Of course, now everyone is mostly on even keels. Stevens is kind of in an interesting spot. Leroy Brown, of course, in those 9-lap-old mediums will, suffice to say, have a bit more of a difficult time. Their strategy is not played out with the current circumstance in their favour. But they have got track position, which may stand for something. See Halliday speeding in the pit lane and retiring out of the race. But they will not be continuing, and they are going to be joining Van Ruyten in the paddock, where they will only be seeing themselves out to round 2, wherever that may take place. Looks like we'll be seeing ourselves going racing at the end of lap 11/lap 12, provided everyone can get back in and on that queue.
Oh, we see a couple of drivers coming out of the pits. Mark Wadd there, he just needs to catch that safety car, but it's not too far ahead there, only coming into the hairpin now, so it should be fairly easy for him. He can get the power down, get flat to the floor, but does want to preserve as much tyre life as possible, although they may be the freshest of the entire field. He still wants to keep them nice and fresh for the remaining laps he has to do. Will we see another stop from these drivers? Still got 28 laps to go. 27 when we get back racing.
Yep, and this will be a frenetic 27 laps as the safety car is now pulling into the third sector. And we will find out whether they are pitting in or whether we'll see another lap worth of slower running. And ultimately, with the circumstance, drivers kind of want the safety car to be staying out a bit longer. So it looks like we will have it at least for one more lap here. So lap 13 is when we go racing once again. And everyone on that field, whether they are young or old, are going to be on a set of medium tyres. And this is going to certainly introduce a few changes. Of course, winners and losers for tonight. We do have some drivers who have made some big position gains. We look at Hitala. We look at both the Hasses, in fact, while we're at it. Liam Stevens jumping up 11. And then we see some drivers who have made a couple of drops. We see Zontos has dropped down 6. Rapace has dropped down from pole to P2, although we may not see that stay, as Brown's 7 positions are on the fact that he didn't stop during the safety car. That may come back to bite him later. But then you can see towards the bottom, 15th and 14th positions dropped from Halliday and Van Ruyten. Such a strong qualifying. A shame to see it go to waste.
Yeah, he did come into this Grand Prix with a good start, but Monaco has claimed victims, and Jean Halliday just diving into that pit lane, retiring early on, and has just left the session there, displaying on the screen before you. But some unfortunate results for them in round 1, but it's only round 1, still got quite a few rounds to go before this wildcard season comes to a close. Plenty of opportunities to pull back points. Jean Halliday being the season champion last time round, could be looking for another championship this time in this unpredictable season to come.
Yeah, of course, the season is young. As you said, it's only the first round. So a poor result here isn't fully indicative of how the whole season is going to go. And with that in mind, Brown is now leading the queue and is drawing it right down to a slow, as he is going to have control of when the grid sets off again. Let's jump on board. Lap 13, we start back up. Safety car is in and track is about to go hot once again, crossing that DRS line, and boom, there is Brown gunning it off the line, barely able to catch much of a lead on Rapace and Zorzo. They were reading it, and we are back up to full green racing. Ignore the safety car warning in the top left. Common bug at this point, well known. We see a couple of scuffles further down. Hitala, Bieda, side by side, 2, 3, ping pong, Red Bull, Bieda, Sprogis dropping down, and they too continue to fight. But that is going to be Hitala jumping back into P13, holding off the line, and then you see a ghosted out Zorzo as things get really chaotic. VSC coming up.
Big contact at the back there. Gabor has lost that wing. Big collision with Gottschalk. And Zalan Bieda being the one who was hit from that Sauber. Oh, it was just a concertina effect. The Sauber hits the Ferrari. The Alpine hits the Sauber. Oh, it was good of Marco to stay clear of that.
Absolutely chaotic. But the VSC coming out is going to be a major pain. Exafox getting a 10-second penalty for a severe collision with their teammate. And 10 seconds as well for Marquardt. Although I can't actually find what the cause for that is myself. I do believe that might be in the same vein as the penalty we saw for Exafox. Maybe there was a collision. Oh, looks like we've got more coming out here. There is more collisions coming out. Itala's pitting in, Bieda is pitting in, many more cars are jumping into the pit lane. This race has gone sideways with so many drivers so quickly. It's not even VSC, it is full safety car once again.
Oh, it is. Visual bug, all unbeknown when all these happen, but you can see the safety car on the track. It has been caught by Luca Rapace. So we have full course safety car on lap 14 of the Monaco Grand Prix. This is absolute carnage and chaos. Huge contact between drivers. How many wings have you changed so far?
Yeah, well, second verse, same as the first. Everyone's got to catch up before the safety car is going to come through any more.
Somebody's in the wall. That's a Red Bull. Is that a rehab?
That's Sprogis, yep. They are going to be missing pieces of their wing just as they had a chance to sort it all out and get back up to even keel. So, even more carbon being strewn across the track now. And that was the reason we got the safety car in the first place. It's just too much carbon, too many wings thrown out onto the track surface. They need to slow the cars down to get it resolved. And there you go. Sprogis is going to be heading in for another front ring replacement. Chaos is an understatement. I stand by that from the start of the race. And it looks like it's holding true here. Another lap. Easily another lap to go. Looks like it will be lap 16 before we get anywhere close to full green running once again.
What a way to start season 20. We knew something mad and crazy was going to happen when you see that the calendar is all mystery tracks, and Monaco being one of them, as well as Baku to come as one of the mystery tracks. That could get chaotic. The first two turns, even turns 3 and 4, where it gets very tight, but they are very fast flowing. You need to try and hit those 90-degree turns as fast as you can. Monaco, we all know, is known for its absolute unpredictable chaos Grand Prix, but here, 2 safety cars so far, absolute carnage in qualifying, and season 20 is off to a bang.
Well, it's like we were saying at the start, if there is any time to experiment, then now is going to be the time to do it. There's no other way to look at it than that. This is a season where the status quo has thoroughly gone out the window. The drivers are coming in completely blind. We are coming in completely blind. They are coming in with a brand new set of rules, so are we. It's all up in the air. It really is a time with the F1 esports going on at the same time, and that sort of competitive pressure being alleviated between game cycles, now's the time where you see these kind of experiments and these chances to really just push the boat out happen. And sometimes you get results like this, and sometimes it could be vastly different. But the safety car is in for the second time now, and let's hope that third time is not the charm on this one. Repasa leads away from the field. Is going to be jumping onto full speed much earlier than the rest of the field, and Zozo is going to get caught off guard. Already half a second dropped, as lap 16 is when we go to green flags once more, and the RB is going to take a commanding start.
Oh yeah, really got away, and the rest of the field not getting the start that they wanted. The restart all up in the air. I'm looking at Leroy Brown trying to push on now to get to Joe Marquardt, just not close enough as of yet. Drivers really throwing everything they got to catch up. He is going to send it though. Try and get that inside line. Slight contact with that McLaren. They go into the hairpin now. Can he get the outside line and make the traction stick? The soft compound working for him. He gets it done. That's the Mercedes up into P8.
That's seriously impressive there from Brown. He actually kept it fairly clean the whole way, and it just perfectly zoned himself. So well done there, and really leveraging those soft tyres.
Good restart. Oh, Marquardt. Novel chicane sliding in. Leroy Brown once again. Another move done just before we got to Tabak on Liam Stevens. He's making the most of those soft compound tyres, and he's doing it now. But Liam Stevens was a sitting duck. 12 laps on those medium compound tyres. They don't have the grip. They can't keep up with that level.
Yeah.
The DRS is now enabled as we get going on to lap 16. This is where things could get a little bit spicy, but Leroy Brown is just scraping the barrel for that DRS.
It's absolutely maximising those soft tyres though, and while he's not going to get the DRS just yet, he is certainly going to be giving it 110% when it comes to this lap. You can see he's snapping the rears, he's closing the gaps, he's already down half a second to the last time we checked on him and I started this sentence. He's really giving it everything he can. I would not be surprised if we see a few more positions climb before those softs start to fall away.
Oh yeah, he's really giving it his all here and now, really trying to make those positions early on, because I think he knows everybody else needs to box again. If he can stay with the train, if he can stay in that pack, then when he boxes, he'll be in prime position to challenge on for what could be a good finishing result, if not victory, for the Mercedes.
Yeah, looking good.
Very strong, very strong here. But so's Leotard, getting very close to JST though.
Yeah, we're seeing a trio of cars quickly starting to form, and the mid-pack as well as lower is going to see their own kind of squabbles. That's Thomason and Marquardt quickly trading positions through the final sector, keeping it fast, keeping it clean. Justin Ertz also looking at a chance to get a run for himself. He's also on the soft tyres, so he's in a very similar position that Leroy Brown is, and he's going to peek the nose into the inside, but Marquardt is having none of it. Great defensive positioning and good balance from that McLaren to keep him at bay for the time being.
Ooh, the ghosted car though, was that a lap? I'm not entirely sure what I just saw. Luca Rapassa ghosted for a brief second, having a little moment, but got going very nicely. Watching Leo Lund trying to chase down Diego Zorzo though. He is on 2-lap older tyres, but he's staying very close and within a striking distance of Zorzo. Could potentially happen on the next time we get the DRS. He's been waiting patiently, setting himself up. The Ferrari looking very strong in Sector 3. They're closing those 10s down a little bit more as now we get going into La Rascas. Needs to get a prime exit here. Needs to get flat to the floor and chase down Zorzo. Can it happen? Not quite yet.
Yeah, not quite.
Mean scrap for the podium here.
Yeah, well, we've got plenty to play for at the podium side of things, because a good early result will set you up very nicely. I'm looking at Zorzo and Lund right now, and can immediately see the level of push. Zorzo's missing his front right end plate, which is going to be putting him at a disadvantage to the Ferrari, but he's still holding his ground. He's still holding it well. And looking to the rest of the field, their fights are just as strong as well. Even at the back, Exofox, Zontas, and Sprogius, they're all occupying the same space, to the point where two cars actually ghosted into each other for a brief moment. And that is going to be pretty emblematic, I'd say, of this session. Two drivers ghosting into each other barely avoiding chaos and then other chaos happening around them.
It seems to be the premise for a Monaco Grand Prix. Try and get ghosted so you can get through all the carnage that is inevitably going to unfold before you.
Obviously, the mid-pack is no different here, as Thomason and Stevens are very close here. Stevens 6 seconds behind Leroy Brown is going to leave him in the lurch when it comes to the DRS. You can see that's the Alpine coming alongside through the first corner. They do a bit of rubber bumping and up towards the top end of the circuit in the end as Sector 1 into Massenet in through the apex, and well executed here. Marquardt is going to capitalise all the same as well. Bit of skittishness on the rear axle, but holds his ground all the same. Stevens though on the apex refuses to give it up, and into the hairpin down here at the Grand Hotel corner. Those two refuse to yield even an inch. It's still side by side. It's still chaotic. And in the end, the Red Bull does keep ahead, but by an inch, as Marquardt refuses to give even a second. Stevens doing very well on the positioning front, but up through the Nivelle chicane. Drivers are really putting it all on the line right now.
We just missed out though on the hairpin after we were watching that nice little scrap and fight. Exa Fox just missed the brakes and went straight on at the hairpin, fell 5 seconds behind, struggling to get the power down on that restart and catch back up to the pack. Marquardt almost hitting the rear axle on that outside wall there, coming through the final turn, trying to close up ever more to Liam Stevens. The fight well and truly on between these two drivers. Liam Stevens 17 laps on those medium compounds. Here goes Marquardt looking for an inside line. Stevens defending brilliantly, still holding that inside line. He's not giving an inch, but there you see the tyre advantage. Marquardt able to get the power down, and Stevens losing that position. But now into the hairpin. Can he do anything to challenge back? Not quite yet. He now needs to go on the defensive against Justin Hurts on 7-lap old soft tyres. Justin having that tyre advantage more than most.
Yeah, well, we did just quickly look at Exafox, who actually I think crashed into the entrance of the pit lane, meaning that they retired out, being our 4th retiree of the session, and both Hasses out of this race here at Monaco. A little bit of a wall tap for Marquardt as he's just trying to push now and get a break away from Stevens. He defended well, he defended hard, but now he's got to fight all of his own, as there is a certain lime green Kick Sauber waiting in the wings and on soft tyres, as you said, who is going to be hungry to get a position. Now those softs are going to be past their prime a little bit, but they will still have a bit more fight left, and if they can leverage that, then they might be just fine. Up to the top end, there's a fight here. There's Lito and JST side by side into the hairpin. McLaren holds the apex and really deep into the curb. Much better exit speed for Keanu, and that is going to be pushing him up into P5. Any return fire from JST? Let's see as we head through to the tunnel, but does not look like it. Too much of a gap peeled out with that great exit, and the Aston is going to hold firm as the top 5, 6. Actually, the 2nd through 6th, as Repassa has fully broken from the grid. But 2 through to 6, and I'd argue 7, very close, within a couple of tenths at any given point.
Ooh, things are getting a little bit spicy. Leo Lund could potentially be challenged on Zorzo there, but he just lost a little bit of time on the exit of the final turn. Just can't close up to Zorzo like he wants to. He's been trying for the past 5 laps to just get that little bit closer, get past, if not benefit from that. But again, could we see another pit stop incoming? 15 laps on those medium tyres for Leo Lund. Zorzo 13 laps, Rapassa 13 laps, Tope, Leotard, JST, all well over 13 laps. It's the strategies here. You can't use the hard compound tyres. It just goes up in the window when you've got 16 laps to go. There's no way the mediums are going to make it that long.
They're certainly going to have to go for a second stop here, but the question is who's going to be the first to buckle. They've got a crucial decision to make, and that is twofold. For the leaders, it's going to be when they choose, because they can expect the rest of the field to follow suit, try and match them up as well as one can. But then for those tailing behind, it's about whether they go at the same time as the leaders or when they expect the leaders to go. or whether they try and mix it up. Do they undercut? Do they overcut? Can they make the softs, or whatever tyre compound, soft or medium, can they make it work to the very end at this current point? It's those questions they've got to answer, and let's hope that they've either got their strategic heads on nice and fastened, or they've got a good engineer in their back pocket, because they are sure as heck going to need it.
Zozo doing very well to manage that damage, but I think Leo Lund's getting a little desperate. He's looking for open doors, looking for any opportunity to try and get by that little diminished Aston Martin. Without that front wing being at full operational status, he's just losing time. But Zozo gets an amazing run there, coming down to the tunnel, bridging 4/10 to Leo Lund, as Leo's been breathing down his neck for well over 7 laps.
Yep, and shows no signs of stopping either. Looking at him go, it's clear to see that Lund is running out of patience. He's snapping to the left, to the right, trying to find any chance he can get. And you can see there it goes, a little bit deep for Zozo as they are on the recharge too. And boom, just like that. Not going to get the DRS either. Sprogis with a 3-second time penalty for track warnings. And Zozo with a recharge of the battery, then being burnt. Just a couple of corners later, he reasserts the position. So well recovered from that mistake. And I think Lund is going to get even more frustrated by that one, especially considering how they, by all accounts, should have had it in the bag. No DRS and fully intact wing for Lund. Cards were stacked in his favour.
Yeah, I've got to agree. Leo Lund had that move done and dusted. It's surprising to see how Zozo's been able to fight that one back without DRSA, just using the battery. He must have been able to get the traction down a lot better than Lund. Although they have a 2-lap tyre difference between them, Zozo really managing the tyres a bit better than Leo Lund. Leo's struggling to get the power down in the final sector. But look how much he's closing up there through the corners. You can see the advantage on having that operational wing. The wing being without any forms of damage, without any forms of decay. He's just proving so dominant in the corners, and there he goes. He's left Zozo in a very unfortunate situation. That was brave, bold and strong to get on through. Zozo dropped another position to top here. Leotard now getting in the fight to JST. It's all happening here on 26 now. But through goes Leo Lund. He's been trying very hard for way longer than he wanted to. But finally it gets the move done.
I'd say a dicey one there from Lund, as he really did push the boundaries at turn 19. So we'll have to wait and see if anything comes from that. But one thing's for sure, he's got P2 now. That has knocked Zozo down a peg, as he's now immediately coming off of that, dropped into P5, to the point where JST is breathing down his neck now. And his teammate Lito has dropped him into P4. The top A in 3rd and Lito in 4th. But a curious thing is, throughout all of this, Rapassa's basically been on hot lap mode. He doesn't have to worry about a thing right now, because he's just keeping it clean, keeping it running. And in Monaco, it effectively becomes a hot lapping sim once you get a bit of track space, and that is how you get such a large gap as he's done here.
Yeah, you can just zone in, you can lock in, hit the perfect racing lines, get the power down, you're under no threat from behind, there's nobody in front of you slowing you down, no dirty air. You can just crack on, get the laps in, and the victory is surely yours for the taking. 11-second gap for Luca Rapassa. However, 17 laps on those medium tyres. I can't see them going another 12. He will be boxing again, but so will the entire top 5 drivers, top 6 even. Rens Thomassen, it's questionable. Everybody may be boxing again. Yeah, Justin Hurts, 2-lap old medium tyres there in P15. Liam Stevens boxed early on. He'd run those medium tyres 18 laps, and he's done 4 laps so far on those soft compound tyres. The strategies are up in the air. This hard tyre rule really changing everything. Liam Stevens, has he crashed? He's out of safety car. And just as we mention it, the strategies are up in the air once again. Yep. Luca Rapassa's just got ahead of the safety car.
He's just sort of beating it out there. And this is going to change things massively. Lito is going to be the first to jump into the pits. And that is going to be effectively the strategy for everyone set in stone. You can see this is going to take up the slot of their final stop. Everyone jumping into the pits at this stage. Well, nearly everyone. We see a few sort of odd drivers who are opting to stay out. Most heading onto a set of mediums, playing it safe and almost having a bit of insurance there. Couple heading onto the softs and going to be pushing those boundaries a little bit further. We even see some who are heading on to old sets. So we see Gottschalk, for example, 7-lap old mediums. They're going to be re-equipping and they are going to be pushing towards the end of the race. But Rapasa, I gotta say, I really do feel for Rapasa here because he's done so much work to get a clean break from the field and he's consistently put in those amazing laps, and the safety car, it's like a fishing rod. He swims out to sea, and then that rod hooks him, pulls him back in just when he thought he's escaped.
That's a perfect way of explaining it there. He got the gap, he got away, but then he was trapped and pulled back by the hook. Absolutely correct. He dives into the pits there as expected, slapping on fresh medium tyres. Most drivers I expect to go for those mediums, play it safe, but JST is the one who's gone for softs. He's going to try and make the positions. Not a lot to lose, but maybe could get the jump on some drivers with his current position.
Yeah, well, we can see as many drivers and even, well, actually Marquardt choosing to stay out on his OG set along with Sprogis. This is a curious decision. I wonder if they're going to chance it to the end, considering the reduced tyre wear of the SC period. But regardless, Rapasa remains out on top. Even with Marquardt opting to negate a stop, he remains up. Leoland a few seconds behind. Zontos is into the pits and is going to be our 6th retiree of the session. He got a drive-through penalty for speeding under the safety car, and considering the chaos that has been this race, I think he has made the choice to bow out and save the mental state for the next round, leaving 14 cars left out on scene and leaving many other racers with a question mark regarding their session. Although I think we're having a bit of an issue considering that apparently the safety car is coming in this lap when the grid is completely sporadic. I think the migration of the host has messed a couple of things up here. Not sure what's happened.
Yeah, JST being the host, I think he's had a disconnect. I've struggled with a couple of disconnects. I don't know if his Steam's having an issue or what, but I've had a couple of disconnects in the session so far tonight, and JST, the host, has also suffered a disconnect. That could have desynced the entire lobby, and this could affect the entire result now.
Yep, this has certainly taken an interesting turn. We've had visual bugs and now a safety car desyncing and heading into the pits before the grid is reformed. So now, regardless, the show must go on. Rapasa has been handed a olive branch in the form of a desync, and he is going to retain the majority of his lead compared to the rest of the field. Lund is going to have a 3-second time penalty, but that's not going to stop him from pushing forward. Marquardt isn't going to be a threat, but the top A is certainly going to be a car in his radar, as things currently stand, he will inherit the P2 off of him, considering Marquardt will also drop. He needs to get that gap open and get it open fast.
Yeah, I don't know if Leo Lund can do anything to fight back. He just needs to try and break away from top A, like you say. But 9-second gap for Rapasa, beautifully done. Does take the fastest lap of the Grand Prix also, and the DRS is re-enabled. Is that top A looking to get on through? It certainly is. Can he get on through? He does with ease.
So that is going to be Van Ruyten, and whoops, something's happened again. Something's happened again. Looks like the track has gone to VSC conditions. There has been a collision. Looks like we have... Oh, that is going to be an Alpine completely missing a front end. Believe that is Thomasen. Yes,
Ooh.
so there has been a severe collision and there is carbon strewn across the track somewhere to the point where the VSC has been called while the stewards clean it up. Curiously, no full safety car, but I think that might be where we've used our allocation. I think there is a set amount of safety cars you can have during a session before it either does nothing or reverts to VSCs. We have had 3 safety cars in this session, so it could be likely that we have used up the allocation.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to agree with you on that. The amount of drivers that have boxed and swapped so far, the allocation could be well and truly out of the window. Could only be used left. But how can you manage those used tyres?
So this, of course, is going to be going from bad to worse. Penalty plus now having to head in for a new wing for Thomasen. JST is going to be hit for a penalty, speeding under the VSC, and is also missing a bit of front wing himself, so he's going to be jumping into the pits too. It's gone from bad to worse for some of these drivers. I know I've said it once, but it really bears repeating. Now, our 7th retiree, JST. 13 cars remain.
Yeah, this is that desync issue has caused an absolute blunder where everybody were expecting that safety car to bring everybody to a grinding halt, back the grid back together, and then you could fight it out in the final closing laps. For no, the entire race thrown up in the air. Everybody just carry on. Safety cars back in. That never happened. Let's just continue racing. And JST retiring from said desync has not had the chance to box and change his tyres like most of the drivers also have. Joe Marquardt and Rihad Sprogge still out on those medium compound tyres. They're the ones that are trying to push the boundaries here. Rihad 22 laps, Joe Marquardt 21 laps. Will we see the punches? You mentioned it early, Sappy. Will we see puncher territory coming for these two?
Yeah, well, we see... Oh no, Sprogges is in the wall.
Maybe that was a puncher.
No, that was contact. That was just full-blown contact there. And that has confirmed we've used our safety car allocation, because he was literally sideways on track. He was taking up half the track width in the final sector. No safety car, no safety measures whatsoever. So we are fully in a Wild West territory now, and 12 cars remain in this session, which means, barring 2 cars, all you need to do is finish to score points. But this really does change the game and change the mindset of the drivers. I wouldn't be surprised if they start driving a bit more conservatively from here on out.
Yeah, just to see it to the end. Just to get these final 6 laps out of the way. Just to finish the Grand Prix. 8 drivers retiring from qualifying, 8 drivers retiring from the Grand Prix. Everybody else now just needs to finish the race, just needs to cross the line, keep it clean. Leo Lund taking the fastest lap away from Luca Rapassa. Could this push Rapassa to go a little bit quicker? Could we see a fastest lap battle in the final 5 laps?
That's certainly a question that I want to ask, but as things currently stand, I'd be worried for the drivers pushing it any further, lest we see any more retirements. Half that grid grayed out, half of them on soft, half on medium, and 1 medium driver 23 laps deep and committed to the cause. It seems would it be viable to switch off those tyres now? Diego Zorzo, having had a bit of a rough session earlier, is now on the recovery, and Leroy Brown is his target. So you can see trying to peek the nose in through the hairpin down towards the waterfront and through Portier into the tunnel. Thomasen is going to get the new fastest lap on those fresh soft tyres, and having no track interference whatsoever, they will get that one away from the leaders, and this will mean it truly is a just battle for the top and a battle to make it to the finish, if nothing else. With Sprogges, we saw a bit of rough and tumble, a bit of roughhousing before his ultimate demise in the final sector. So it really can be just the space of a couple of corners where it all goes wrong.
That's all it takes. It only takes one mistake in Formula One, just a couple of corners, even just one little miscalculation of braking point, and it all goes wrong for the best of drivers, even the most talented drivers out here.
Ozzy Brown.
All that to go. Who's going to be the one to give us any action? Is only Zorzo and Leroy Brown close enough?
We can see Gottschalk and Thomasen also in fairly close proximity. We'll keep an eye on those two as well. In just a moment, we might snap back to them to see what's happening, or will we? Well, let's have a go now. Let's go side by side. up through the first sector. The two of them really going to be challenging each other for space. It's going to be a bit of a snap as they close in on each other, squeezing to the ragged edge. Gottschalk is going to take a bit of a slower line through the outside, and that is going to be the Alpine up into P11. Fairly clean there as well, so nicely done from Renz there. We're going to peek our eye back up to our little mid-pack fight, and we see Zorzo is keeping it within about half a second, but he's not making much headway towards or away from him.
Everything's just going a little bit slowly now, just a little bit calmer, you know. Not many drivers fighting it there. We've got 8 drivers not even driving. So things are just cooling off and cooling down. The drivers that are well within striking distance just setting themselves up for what could be the final push, the final chance to take those positions back away from the rivals ahead. So it wouldn't surprise me to not see any moves or any dramatic actions coming out until we get to the final lap even. But if you look at Marquardt, he could be under a bit of pressure now as Leroy Brown and Zorzo get very, very close. They're just getting a little bit closer.
The same can be said for Tope and Latone, because they're within a quarter of a second of each other too. They have also been pushing each other to the limit, and with Lund and Rapassa in second and first, over 9 seconds away, that means Tope's got no DRS and nobody really to bounce his own driving off of. It's just Latone putting on pressure from behind. You can see him going left, right again. Peaks towards the outside. Leroy Brown now gets a 3-second penalty, so Zorzo is going to have that one for free as he challenges on the back of that is going to be Marquardt. Remember, 26 lap old medium, so they're really feeling the pressure and feeling the pain here. That's going to be a drop for 1, a drop for 2. Marquardt down to P7. Wonder if that lack of stop was worth it in the end, because the amount of safety cars, they could have negated a good amount of time.
I mean, I respect that he's trying to do this. I respect that he's pushing those mediums and getting that tyre data for what could be future Grand Prix strategies. As we know, the high compound tyres are not going to be coming in this season, so you need all that tyre information you can get. So I respect this from Marquardt. He's really pushing the life of these medium compound tyre, really seeing how far he can go. And this could open the door for one-stop strategy. Any other tracks that are just as abrasive and just as harsh on the tyres as Monaco, then he's got that data already in hand.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. You mentioned there about collecting data with the season being the way it is. This is going to be uncharted territory for some, and that does mean, whoa, it does mean a little bit of spiciness from Latone and Tope as they go head-to-head, toe-to-toe through the section of the course, and even almost squeezing out into the walls. Tope takes a very wide hairpin line, but they are going to be collecting data ultimately, data that can be used by their compatriots and by themselves in future rounds. With only the 2 compounds to lean on, you've got to have all the information about how they behave, at what tyre temperatures, at what points of grip, and at what points of wear. So the more you know, the better they can approach these, even when the track is a massive unknown.
Yeah, I was trying to make headway as to why Marquardt would not box off those tyres. I was trying to think, well, he must be seeing if he can do it. He must be gathering data. This is the only other explanation to why you would go these 27 laps under this amount of pressure, put yourself through that pain of all that tyre degradation. But of course, it's serving a purpose. 28 laps would have been, well, it would be 29 laps would have been completed on those medium compound tyre. When he crosses the line, it's now 28 laps completed so far on that compound.
Well, here we go. So throughout all of that, there's been one driver who's just treated this like a normal league race. It's Rapassa. He's kept it clean. He's kept his head down. He's not put a foot wrong. And throughout all of this chaos, he's emerged as the calm through the storm, the eye of the storm, as it were. Luca Rapassa comes up to the line, a little wiggle of celebration, and the winner for the inaugural round of Season 20. Well done for winning the first Mystery Grand Prix, aka Monaco. Repassa's going to be a strong finisher, with Leolund coming up in second. Tope and Letoad fighting to the bitter end, though. Who is going to come out on top of these two as the checkered flag is waving, is falling? There's going to be a closing in from the Aston, but it's not enough, as Letoad is going to be slotting in to 4th place, just behind Tope. Zorzo and Leroy Brown are going to be heading their way through, with Zorzo inheriting a position, I believe, on penalty time. Justin Ert being inherited of the 7th place, Kanelut in 8th, Marquardt in 9th position, with Zalan Bieda in 10th spot. Coming up to the line now, Rens Thomassen in 11th, and Gottschalk being our final finisher in P12. But what a run from Repassa, and what an absolutely chaotic race. There's really no understatement of it. For some races today, it was an absolute cataclysm of a round. But for others, they managed to make it work, and they confirmed some good points they might not have been able to otherwise.
Well, that is Monaco. Carnage, chaos, drama, controversy, and of course challenging your rivals to the prestigious event. But pole position normally wins Monaco Grand Prix, and for Repassa, cool, level-headed driver. Like you say, just run it like a standard league race. Different tyre strategies, the safety cars trying to slow down his progress, but in the end, there can only be one victor. And of course, Repassa, the pole sitter, will take that victory. What a run from him, and what a result.
You can see here the full grid right here. So Repassa takes from first on the grid to now first in the race, only with Thomassen taking the final lap. They deny the Grand Slam, but it's a great result nonetheless. Lund in second, Tope in third, followed by Leto, Zorzo, Brown, Ert, Lut, Marquardt, and Bieda in your top 10, taking away some healthy points. Rens Thomassen and Gottschalk just shy of points positions, with Sprogis not making it home, alongside JST, Zontos, Stevens, Exapox, Hitala, and the other two drivers of Halliday and Van Ruyten going out first earlier in the session. But that was, I mean, absolutely insane. There's no other way to really phrase this. We're going to jump straight to the interview screen. We'll see if anyone is willing to give us a chat, but by the looks of things, looks like things are pretty heated, especially towards the latter end of the session, with that green safety car, people are dubbing it. And I don't blame them.
No, it's completely changed the ending result. Therefore, potentially could see some altered results. That may not be the finishing results as we get through to the official results next week. You'll see them displayed before us. We get a nice little graphic normally at the end results, but we shall see where the results lead us after that desync moment. The safety car going green when he took to the track to slow everybody down. Everybody diving into the pits to try and optimize their strategies, and then all of a sudden, boom, bosh, done and dusted. The safety car is back in, and we are green flags. So an altered finishing result could potentially be changed. Stay tuned for more coming next week. All I can say on that one. Very dramatic Monaco, to say the least.
Yep, well, we are just checking in with the drivers and with their sort of respective area where they're discussing exactly what happened. So the current consensus and what looks to be happening is that the drivers will have laps 28 to 39 voided. So we will be taking the results from the point at which the safety car desynced, or just a couple of laps before the safety car desynced, which means that the race will count, but the result will be taken from lap 27 or 28. So this is certainly going to be a bit of a mix-up compared to what we were expecting. And I, of course, understand, because it was a glitch that radically affected the final result of the race. But at the same time, I don't really know how can you cleanly play something like that, because it's always tough to call when you have situations like these, and when you have to sort of void parts of a race due to a bug. It's never a good situation.
No, I fully agree with you, especially when you, like you say there, from 27, that's 12 racing laps that still elapsed, and the drivers, they've done those 12 laps, they've fought for positions hard and changed their positions on the track, and then they'll just get pulled away from that. And if say you're out of the points, you're not scoring any points, you clawed your way back in those 12 laps, your points will be taken and stripped from you. But again, it's a hard decision to make, and a decision must be called that makes it fair for everybody. If the desync affected you in such a bad way that could have altered your finishing position or even ended your race dramatically, it's all up in the air at the moment. It's dramatic, but that was a Monaco Grand Prix. It's always chaos, and it's bound to happen at some point.
Yeah, well, we're just taking a bit of a review, and from what I can see, if we were to take things from lap 27, that would mean that Luca Repassa still takes top honours. He still wins the race. Lund would be in provisional second, but with a penalty, would see himself drop down to around P5 or P6, which means Tope would be in second. Keanu would be in third. Diego Zorzo would be in fourth place, with JST in fifth. Thomasen in sixth. Leroy Brown in seventh. And then Marquardt and Bieda with penalties, meaning that Gottschalk will take the next spot, and Zontos as well. But this is all to be decided, of course. It is still currently in finalization whether that is going to be the procedure to go ahead. And I think with that in mind, that is where we are going to leave it for tonight. It doesn't look like anyone's interested in having a chat to us here in the commentary box, and given the ambiguity of the end of the race, I don't exactly blame them. So be sure to tune in next week, because this is going to be the mystery season, the wildcard season, and it's going to be unlike anything you have ever seen before. I think it's quite fitting. We've hit season 20, you know, fairly significant number, and we celebrate it by throwing everything we have known out the window in favour of something completely fresh, and it's going to be absolutely immense. Be sure to join us next week, and you'll find out at the same time as we do what track is going to be joining us for round 2. But at least for the time being, and for tonight, this is where myself and Corey sign off. So thank you so much for joining us, as always. We'll see you next week, but take care to you all, and do stay tuned for what's to come. Thank you very much, and goodbye.